Welcome to another episode of Jay's Finest. Super excited for this video because we're installing our first mod in the Wrx. As you can tell on the title of this video, we're installing Fortune Auto Coilovers. That is the 7th gen, the 500 series, and we're also installing Mugen Racing lower control arms. Reason why we're doing that is because there's a lot of rear camber in the rear of this car. Don't know what the previous owner did. Pretty sure he lowered it and just didn't readjust it when they put it back to stock and the whole 9 yards. But there's no adjustment down there, so that's why I bought those rear control arms. And the thing about those control arms are they lower the car 2 inches, so it's a good idea to buy coilovers so you can raise the car back up 2 inches. Doesn't mean the height's gonna be higher, but at least it's gonna be level to the front or the rear. You don't want to be kind of like slanted to the back, because the rear control arms, those rear control arms in particular, lower it 2 inches. So remember, you need coilovers for those control arms. And let me show you how they look, the Fortune Auto and the Mugen lower control arm. Alright, here comes the fun part, which is installing it. This beautiful Florida sun here that it's humid and just really hot. But nonetheless, that's just my drama. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and loosen up the lug nuts. Don't loosen up all the way that they come off. You're just going to loosen them enough so they can just be loose. So when they're in the air, you can just go ahead and take them off. And then from there, we're going to go ahead and jack up the Subaru. Alright, right after you loosen the lug nuts, the next step is going to head to jack up the Wrx. The goal is to jack up the front first and doing the rear. Reason why is because I don't want to be on a forward jack stand, and this driveway is a little bit on the incline, so I don't want to make sure I don't put too much pressure and the car starts moving and can potentially fall. So it's good at least to do 2 at a time, meaning front and then the rear, not left and right. You can try left and right, but then, you know, it's still gonna be a little bit wonky. It's better just do it from the front and then to the rear. So let's go ahead and jack up the Wrx. Here it is. The Wrx is lifted up in the air in the jack stands. Obviously I do have the handbrake on all the way up, but just so better security, I put some wood blocks just behind this wheel. And let me show you the lift points real quick. As you can see, this is the pinch weld right here in the Wrx. You can see right there. Now as you see right here, let me see if you can see the camera. Right here, there's like 2 little like dents in there in the pinch weld. That's technically speaking where you can put the jack stand, but it's alright to put it in between here. Now I am gonna have the jack here just in case for security purposes. Well, actually safety purposes. So if this thing fails, at least this thing is still holding it from the car, you know, crushing me pretty much. But I'm not gonna go underneath the Wrx, so I'm pretty good in that aspect. But this is how it's gonna look pretty much, and the other side is gonna be parallel to this jack stand. I want this one to be more back here, a little bit forward. So pretty much they both sides have to be at least parallel, so at least it's kind of equal in the weight distribution area. So 2 things we're gonna do right now. We're gonna go ahead and remove the Wrx wheels. Sorry for the wind. And from there, we're gonna start loosening these nuts that are on top of here, which are 3. And I'm gonna tell you the size once I remove them. Well, here we are. This is just I decided to do one side so I can show you guys how it's supposed to look. See the brake line is right there. You got the ABS line hooking up there again, well, where it's supposed to be. And then this is the coilover setup right here versus the OEM, which is I'm gonna show you right now. Here it is. This is the OEM strut right here. You can see there's quite a big difference. It's pretty big compared to the Fortune Auto coilovers. It's the same type of method. You see the brake line is attached there, the ABS line is there. Now I'm going to show you the top so you can see how the top hat of the coilover is supposed to be like. So this is how the OEM looks like right now. You can see that it has no adjustability, nothing there. Or you just got these bolts there, and that's all you have right now. And you have the Fortune Auto right here. You can see the Fortune Auto is facing back there. That's how it's supposed to go. Because remember, this is to adjust the camera. So you go here, it's gonna be negative. You go here, it's gonna be positive. You loosen these 4 bolts, and you can actually go ahead and slide this in and out. That's obviously when you're doing an alignment, so you don't have to really touch that right now. Just make sure they are tight before anything else. And of course, here are the 3 other bolts that came with the Fortune Auto kit, and it has little plastic clips, not plastic clips, little covers, but you don't have to put them there. But I just put them there just for aesthetics, I guess. I don't know, it's not really make a difference. But nonetheless, this is how it's supposed to look. So this is the front of the engine. The front engine's right here. The car's facing forward this way. You gotta make sure that this is facing side to side. You don't want that to be facing crisscross or forward and back. This gotta be facing like this. Cool. Alright, so now I'm going to show you how to install the coilovers in the front. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and loosen these bolts here, which are going to be 12 millimeters. And then we're going to go ahead and loosen these 2 bolts right here, which are going to be 19 millimeter. We're just going to loosen everything up, and then we're going to take these out, and then eventually we're going to take the strut out, as well as loosening this. And then we're going to loosen this, which is pretty much the not the ABS line, this is the wheel speed sensor right here. Alright, the next step is to go ahead and remove that, which I believe that is a 12 millimeter. And now we also have to remove this wheel speed sensor, which is a little plastic trim there. I'll show you how to take it off. First, we're gonna take off this one right here, what the brake line is, and then we're gonna go ahead and take off this one right here.
Hold me close till I get up. Time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever trust. Yeah, no, I don't wanna waste what's left. And on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays. And on we'll go.
Here they are. You can see we took both of them out. The other one's obviously inside already. Believe it or not, for whatever reason, the right side was a lot easier to install than the actual left. For whatever reason, the whole control arm didn't just go lower, it just kind of stopped a little bit. Whatever. Point is, you can tell the difference here. The difference, I think, between the height between these two, I think is 2 inches and a half. So for now, we're gonna see the 2.5 inches go down on the WRX. I'm pretty sure these in the rear are the same thing. But for now, I'm just gonna I measured these two, this coilover and the one that's already installed, and they both are the same exact size. I'm gonna remeasure it one more time to make sure they both are equal on both sides. You don't want one side to be taller than the other, or because that's not gonna be good for alignment and obviously for drivability and the whole 9 yards. But whatever. So far, these are the strut. You can tell the difference between a coilover because you can adjust it. You can tell the strut obviously is factory. Same concept in the bottom here. Same exact concept. The only difference is obviously this is a lot thinner, so you can put wider wheels, and as well you can actually you know, adjust these coilovers to whatever how you feel like adjusting it to. And of course you can adjust the camber. This Subaru actually brings camber bolts in the front, which when I took them out I'm like, okay, this is kind of adjusting it. So I'm gonna put it in a neutral level, which is gonna be in the middle, and then I'm gonna use this just to adjust the camber. Or I might even use the camber bolts to adjust it if I mean, once I go to alignment, I'll check that out myself, because I do work in a shop where I could align my my car. So hopefully I can make it, because it's, you know, lower now. But I'm just gonna leave it the way it is right now, and then from there I'm gonna put it on the Subaru. And then once I lower the front, I'm gonna see how it is. If I don't like it, I'm gonna re-raise up the car again. Then I'm just gonna you know, put this another inch or so, because I really don't want the car to be slammed, to be honest. I just want it to be a good ride height. And typical Florida weather, you know, it's sunny and it's also raining at the same time. So patience, man, patience. Well, since the rain kind of calmed down, so what we're gonna go ahead and put the left side coilover on. Hopefully I can record it with no rain. There's just some clouds left over. So as you can see here, I actually used the jack that lifted up the car to put it right where that bolt is in the bottom, which should be fine. It's not gonna do any damage to it, just to help it out so we can put both bolts in there without, you know, struggling. Because obviously this itself weighs a lot and you're just doing this by yourself. If you don't have any friends or anything else, it's best to have your jack here, which is gonna be your friend at this moment, because right now without that this would have been really impossible to do this. Not really impossible, it would have been really difficult. So everything's pretty much the bolts are in there. We just gotta put the nut in the back, and these are here. They're not tying it at all. See, they're pretty much loose, but everything is in there. So now the process is to put everything back the way you took off. So we're gonna have to put this brake line, so you can see this brake line up here again, and then we're gonna push this inside here. And you can do this right now because it clips in there, and then you're good. And then you're gonna do is grab this bolt right here, this guy right here, put that in there, and then you're just gonna tighten. And this one that comes with like a washer, this is pretty much helps you, so you can loosen this bolt up just a little bit, because this is a camber bolt right here, which allows you to adjust the camber. But since we have a plate up there, I'm just gonna leave this in the neutral position. I want it to be right in the middle, because other way we can adjust it with the camber plate, or we can use this. I mean, I'll see once I have to align it. I'll see what I'll go for, but this goes right here like so. And then this goes like here. Obviously when you saw me removing it at first, you saw that these bolts were facing the other way. I think this is just a much easier way to do it, because this you can just put the wrench there and just wrench away, and it won't hit the brake. Like you saw me there, it started to hit the brake. It was just a pain, so I had to use an actual another tool just to go ahead and remove it. But besides that, let's go ahead and tighten what we have to tighten, and then we'll be good to continue.
Turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, and on
we'll go. And there it is. All the top bolts are tight. The bottom as well, they're tight as well. This is tight, everything is tight. So it's pretty much ready to go. I'm just gonna go ahead and just twist the wheel, make sure everything does feel good. Everything should be alright, obviously. But we'll see. Let's see how everything looks, feels, and then we're going from there.
turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in number, fueled by them to see the horizon, turn us to thousands, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways, till my shadow turns to sun rays, and on we'll go, through the wastelands, through the highways.
Well, this seems like a, zoom out here, there we go. This seems a little bit interesting. It's naming on the ground, you can see there, and it's not that much gap, so hopefully when I lower it, it's not too low. So don't over tighten these. I mean, I tighten enough that it's hard, so at least when I put the car down, it's not gonna be kind of loose, so that way if I need to make an adjustment, I can lift the car back up, take these things out, and just raise it up by whatever. Obviously you should wait until they settle, but if they're already not settled and it's too low, then you for sure have to raise it up at least half an inch or an inch. But we'll see. Now just to the moment of truth to bring it down. Well, note to self, remember to measure how was the height before and then now. There's still a little gap there, but I think I'm cool with it. I mean, you can always adjust it later on, but let me work on the rear, which is gonna be the fun part, control arm and coilover. So let's get to it. Let's not waste time. Besides the mess, my objective for now is to actually raise these up 2 inches, because these control arms lower the car 2 inches. As I watch the sunset, I got one side done, and here they are. This is the setup with the Mugen Racing lower control arm, and then you got the Fortune Auto coilover right here. I did lower it 2 inches. Supposedly says this is 2 inches. It lowers it naturally, so I want to see it for myself. I think I might have to raise it back up just a bit, but I'll just accordingly. So you can see the difference here. You see this is the angle it goes down, so it lowers it 2 inches. Now if you do get this control arm, you could, I know there's a bunch of holes everywhere. Obviously you can go for this hole, and then you get this, most likely it might be still the same hole, but you might go a little bit higher if you like. But I think it might hit that on top, so I highly suggest just to keep the top. And so there's 2 holes here, you get the top one. Then there's 3 here. Naturally this one's will go on this hole, so it's like self-explanatory here. And then this one, obviously, where the roll bar is, and this is the links here. I just put it in this one here because it actually fit the best on this side right here. So I just went for whichever one fit the best, and obviously it's only one option here. And of course this is where you have your crazy adjustability right here. This is just for the camber, so I have to figure this one out. There's a bunch of million things, one does something else, blah blah blah. I'll figure that out in a little bit. But besides that, now I'm gonna show you how to install that on the other side, so you have an idea. And of course I tightened these 2 up here. This is the disaster that I have with all of this interior panels. So to find those 2 bolts, you just gotta pretty much, this is almost like the entire interior. I didn't feel like taking the whole thing off. I mean, it would have been a lot easier and more comfortable, but you know, just time is money. So all I did is just loosen those 2, grabbed it from the bottom, and then put this one back up here, put the 2 lug nuts, and nuts. Then I'm going to show you how to do this, because if you're by yourself like me, I'll show you simply how to do it. The best way to not make sure you don't drop it on the floor hard, or put this one up here. It's somewhat easy, not too difficult, but requires a jack, and make sure you put it on there, and then you move on from once the jack will just pretty much hold it on top of here, so you can go ahead and put the nut on top of each side, and then you can lower the jack, and then you can just leave it right there. So you can see the OEM one, how it looks. This is what you're gonna see if you have the stock ones right here. It's gonna be looking the same things. You're gonna have 2 nuts. They're gonna be, I believe 14 millimeter, and you're gonna just loosen them up a little bit, and then you start loosening the whole control arm down there. But let's go ahead and do that. There it is. I like to keep the bolts all organized. So you see there, that's from the hub all the way to the where the frame is connects to, I guess. And then you got the other thing that connects to the coilover, and then you obviously has it to the link. And here is the low control arm. Here they are in the comparisons. So remember, as I said for the other example that I did, this is the one we're gonna use. This one's gonna connect to the hub. It's connect to the coilover. And I believe this one right here is going to be for the link, and obviously it's going to connect to where the frame is. And then here's where you have all the adjustability. And you can see the differences right there. See what I mean by it does lower the actual car 2 inches from the rear. Because instead of going like this nice little arch, this has a very steep arch and goes across. So that's pretty much why I always say, that's what I was telling you guys, always get coilovers if you get Mugen Racing, because this does lower the car 2 inches. Alright, and since there is no control arm holding anything, if you were to remove those 2 nuts that are up there, this whole entire strut would just fall down to the ground. And I really don't want that, because maybe I could just sell these and make some little profit off of it. I mean, they only have like what, 19,000 miles on them. So what I did is I have a little rope here, and I just tied it around pretty much the upper control arm here. So when it tends to fall, it's not gonna really, you know, hit the ground. So this thing's gonna be pretty much hold it. I didn't tie it to like a knot or anything. To just do a bunch of back and forth with a rope, and it should support it. And then that way you don't have to untie a knot and then go through that hassle. I mean, this is just to do it quickly, just to hold it in temporary. Because once you loosen those bolts, this thing will want to fall. The other side didn't fall at all. I just took it down, and even though this was holding by just a little bit, but my suggestion is use something like this or whatever you can just to hold it from falling down to the ground. Alright, so this is the game plan. So I'm going to leave this on the jack. I'm going to jack it up, and this is going to help me pretty much move the coilover up there. And what's going to happen is the jack is not going to go anywhere, and this is actually going to move. This is just going to stay there while I put the 2 holes up, the 2 screws up there. Then I go on top, and then I'm going to actually put the nut on those 2 screws right there, and that way it's going to hold them, and you don't have to put it really tight, just as long as they're holding up there, and then you can lower the jack. So it's a pretty interesting process. Let me just go zoom out real quick. There we go. Pretty interesting process, but that's the only way to do this if you don't have a buddy with you. I mean, unless you want to do the rope technique, you still do that too, but it's not gonna really work out too well, so I'd rather use the jack technique. Alright, so as you can see, the actual jack is holding the coilover on top, so therefore you can go and grab the 2 screws, screw them there, and there is gonna, and from there you can just let the jack fall, and then the 2 nuts are gonna be holding the coilover. There you have it. See, just leave it loosely up there, because when you have to put the lower control arm back again, it is going to be a little bit of a pain. So my suggestion is to at least leave them a little bit loose up there, and then the very last thing you do, the very last thing you tie in, are those 2 bolts that are up there. But that's the very last thing. So now we're going to go ahead and put the Mugen control arm, and the first thing we're going to do, we're obviously start from the hub, and then we're going to work our way down. Maybe what I did the other side, I actually started with the hub, and then I went to connected to the frame, and then from there I kind of just used the jack once again to lift up the control arm. Obviously I had the bolts on both sides, and kind of just put the bolts in where the coilover is, and as well as the link. Okay, so that's how you do it pretty much. That's my little light there so you guys can see. That's the best way to do it. Yes, you're gonna have to might use a little, I have a rubber hammer, but hammer, but you also, I suggest to use a small hammer just in case you have to encourage some of these bolts to go in, and as well that link is just being a little bit of a pain. But then again, it is what it is. So that was the design for this thing. As you have multiple holes there for whatever reasons, I guess for usability, whatever. So the next step is just to get the nuts that are left and the ones that I already put on there, and you're just gonna have to tighten everything, and then the two nuts that are on top of there, and then you're pretty much set. And as you can see, it is the next day, and happy to say that everything went flawlessly as you saw in the video. Now obviously the last thing I did is to put the trunk interior back on, and as well tighten the lug nuts, which they're going to be 94 foot-pounds of torque. So for right now, I'm going to let the coilover settle. Once the coilover settle, we should be good to go from there, and to see if all the heights is good. My goal is to have at least from the fender to the ground to be 25.5 inches, so therefore at least it can be all around, be equal. I'm gonna measure that once it settles about in a week, and then everything should be good. Well, besides that, this is just a quick little install video. Wasn't that quick, but besides that, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe, and follow me on Jays_finest to update yourself any more update on my channel. Peace out, and thanks for watching.